Welcome back for part 2 of Back to Basics for Special Education. I did want to just talk briefly about the IEP meeting, and it needs to be held yearly, and every 3 years we reevaluate. But I did want to mention that anyone on the team can call an IEP meeting at any point in time. So if a family member or a team member feels like the goals need to be updated, or there needs to be a change, or we want to talk about an issue that's an IEP issue, you can call a meeting. The meeting needs to be in writing for the family. If you want an IEP meeting, please do it in writing. Email counts as writing. And what you do is you state in there what you want to talk about. So we're not going to talk about everything at this meeting necessarily, just what the issue is. It can be from the time the district receives the letter. It can be scheduled within 15 days and held within 30. There's no quote unquote emergency IEP where you can have a meeting the next day. However, it is the school's their obligation to hold the meeting as soon as they can. It's not their legal obligation, but it is their obligation to the student. So just keep that in mind, that it's not going to be held immediately. It will be held as soon as they can within 30 days. Now, kind of going down onto the terms, and I wrote this one twice. It's on the next page too. That's a goof, but any which way. LRE stands for the least restrictive environment. This does not mean that everyone goes to general education. The least restrictive environment is specific to a specific child, to that student. Not to everyone in general. Your neighbor's got gen ed and they have pull out this, that, or whatever. That's not for every student. We look at every child individually. I think I've said that before in this series. I'm going to say it again. On and on. This is an individual process. You can never go by what another student has. It's just not going to pan out. You're going to be disappointed. Or they're going to be disappointed, or whatever. But it's not about that. It's about your child individually, not as a group. SDC means special day class. Special day classes are divided in different ways in different districts. Some of the districts have like autism focus, moderate severe classes, mild moderate classes. Some have classes for students that have a language disability. So it just varies how the district organizes. Sometimes they have disabilities mixed together, certain kinds of severe disabilities and mild disabilities. Autism can be here or there, or it's just all about how they organize the class and where your child fits. A resource specialist program is special education. They are in a gen ed class for the majority of the day. However, they're pulled out. They are not pulled out necessarily to do all their classwork. They're pulled out to deal with their disability. So if your child is having a resource and they're pulled out, don't expect they're going to be getting the same exact thing that's going on in the classroom necessarily. It depends how these programs are arranged in your particular district. It's more likely they're going to be getting some remediation for their disability, whatever that disability is that has them in the resource program. Could be autism, specific learning disability, speech, whatever it is. So that's the resource program. Specific learning disability, that's an eligibility. It's a very common one, and I'm going to be talking eligibility by itself, but just briefly. Specific learning disabilities is determined not because your child's having a hard time learning or whatever. There's specific ways the law tells us to look at, the discrepancy model or the response to intervention model. So whatever. And then OT, occupational therapy, physical therapy, OTPT, APE, adaptive physical education is another acronym. SAI, specialized academic instruction. How will the services be provided? LRE, I wrote that again, so I might think it's important. Least restrictive environment does not mean every student will be in special education. So least restrictive environment is probably the most misunderstood thing that we deal with in special education. So just know that it does not mean every child goes to gen ed. I said it a couple seconds ago, I'm going to say it again. But it just means that we're going to look at the environment that your child needs to be in, closest to general ed, where they can still gain educational benefit. We're here to educate your child. We need to teach them what we need to teach them. That's our purpose. That's what special ed is for, to help that process. I'm going to go for now, and I will be back shortly. Take it easy.